Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back. Another short form video, 2 days in a row. I know it's unprecedented things. How you doing, Quakes?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Obviously, it was a good weekend of sport. Super Bowl, Chelsea won. Can't complain. How you doing?
It was a mad weekend of football. Obviously, we spoke about the Southcheck decision yesterday that subsequently has been overruled. But the real big talking point was the City and Liverpool game, the coming of age game of Phil Foden. Is it over for Liverpool? What do you think?
Well, kind of recapping the game overall, it was one of the more exciting games between the top clubs this season. First half was a bit of a damn squid, but second half the game came into life. And it went as expected, really. Obviously, Liverpool have lost those two previous games at home, and this is the third in a row. City just imposed their dominance from minute one, really. Liverpool had chances in the first half, but as soon as the second half came around and City got the second goal, it was only going to be one winner. And yeah, like you say, Phil Foden came to life. I thought Raheem Sterling played really well as well. And yeah, City just looked like they're going to run away with the league title. And for Liverpool, it looks like it's back to the drawing board for them. Obviously, last season running away with the title. This season, they sustained a lot of injuries, which again can't be helped. But I don't think the recruitment was the best in the summer, and now they're suffering for it. What was your thoughts on that?
For sure. I mean, it's doing wonders for my prediction, obviously, of them winning the league. But I think the scoreline was a little bit flattering. The game, like you said, was a damn squib. But I think the only real difference between the sides in the second half was Alisson making the mistakes that he did. And how often does that happen? Phil Foden obviously turned it on second half. He played well all season. And Gundogan as well. Gundogan's putting in like one of those seasons that's just gone under the radar, but he's been quietly consistent in a Man City side, like hampered by injuries all over the squad. You know, look at the players that aren't playing for them at the moment. No Kevin De Bruyne, no Aguero, Kyle Walker, very influential player for them. He's not playing. The amount of players that they've got out of their side right now. Gundogan is just, taking the game by its horns, and he's, coming up with some really important goals. Obviously, had a bad 45 minutes, missed the penalty, but then second half come out. Man City obviously managed to take the game away from him. But Liverpool, obviously you saw the comments by Roy Keane saying they've been bad champions. And I think as much as it's an unprecedented season, I feel like a lot of football teams are under the same level of scrutiny in terms of having to adhere to different things and having to, basically live in a football world that is, different. Me and you have been saying this all season. I feel like Jurgen Klopp has really been playing the victim card all season, really. He's been off it in his interviews, and it does seem like he is going for, more excuses rather, sooner than later, if you know what I mean. It's, I do know where Roy Keane's coming from, but at the same time, Liverpool have been very, very, very unfortunate with the injuries they have sustained. And to kind of, you could argue, obviously, they pulled the result out against West Ham, but then they've obviously lost against Burnley and Brighton now. But they were sustaining a decent form for quite some time, with a makeshift defence. So, with all things considered, I don't think they've had the worst season. But then who has had really a good season? Man City are looking like solid, but even they started off shaky.
Yeah. I think with Liverpool, every team gets injuries, and obviously we're living in unprecedented times in terms of players being out for other reasons other than actual injuries. It could be COVID, it could be family related. There's other things going on in the world that are bigger and more important than football. And Liverpool did sustain ridiculous injuries to their centre backs, but I think it just comes down to how Klopp played these players last season. I wouldn't say he ran them into the ground, but he knew what his starting 11 was, and he played those players consistently. And so those kind of excuses kind of fall short when you saw Liverpool play a full-strength team or close to full-strength team against the Aston Villa under-21s. And that was a time for them to rest players, and they didn't. The summer was a time for them to recruit, and they brought in Thiago and they brought in Jota, and it's unfortunate Jota got an injury and Thiago hasn't settled as quickly as they would like. But again, you hear it from everybody that when you're champions, that's when you really go and attack it. I don't think that Liverpool did that. Granted, we're living in the COVID world where finances were short, but we've seen other teams go out and spend money. I do think the resources were there for Klopp to go and spend money, and they haven't done that, and now they're suffering for it.
For sure. I would say just to jump on that as well. He's kind of played the same team really for 3 years as well, not just last season. And it does there does have to get to a point where there is going to be a lull. But I just look at Liverpool's fixtures coming up, and even in the games they've got coming up, they've got Leicester next. Leicester are a strange team as well. I feel like they're pulling out results here and there, but they're also dropping draws and occasionally losing. But then they've got obviously Leipzig away, and then they've got Everton as well. So their next 3 games in the next 13th of February, 16th of February, and the 20th of February. If they don't pick up some wins there, morale's going to start to go right down in that dressing room.
100%. I also think with Liverpool as well, though, they'll be focusing on the Champions League this season because their squad's not built for the Premier League, the rigors of the Premier League. They've got a fairly favourable tie of Leipzig. Leipzig did obviously make it to the semi-finals last year, but they're a team that Liverpool should be beaten. I think that they will be. And then Champions League, you've got to turn it on for 2 legs. And I think Liverpool got the quality, the individual quality, and the players with the know-how who've won the tournament to go out and do that. I think almost every player in that team was part of the team that won it a couple of years ago. And Thiago, who they've brought in, has got Champions League experience, having come off of winning it last year. So I feel like within that competition, they've got a chance. But I think the Premier League race for Liverpool is done. And I think it raises a bigger question in terms of where they sit within the pantheon of like Premier League greats. Because last season, there was all that chat about Liverpool being one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time. And people are saying like slow roll a little bit just because you haven't gone and defended it. I think you can't be considered one of the greatest teams of all time if you don't actually make a good fist of defending it or do defend it. And Liverpool failed to break any of those records last season that they're on track for before COVID. So within the pantheon of Premier League greats, when you look at maybe the United teams that won 3 in a row, or the Chelsea team that went back to back, or even if you look at the Invincible team that didn't defend it, but obviously went the whole season undefeated and broke records. I don't know where this Liverpool team sit within those great teams. I think it's kind of raising questions because at the end of the day, you've got the City team that if they do go and win it this season, have won 3 of the last 4 Premier League titles. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where Liverpool sit when we reflect on how great this Liverpool team was.
Well, just to jump on a few things you said there. So obviously you said that they're going to be preferising the Champions League. The thing is, the league being so condensed at the moment, they can't afford to take an eye off the league at the moment, because if they do, the form that they're pulling out, that's three losses in the last 4 games. And there's no guarantee of them getting top 4 if they keep up that kind of form, especially with the games they've got coming up. So they're not even in the luxury. Like City, for example, City are the team that I've always wanted to win win the Champions League. City are 10 points clear of Liverpool in the league now. They can, not that they can afford to take a foot off the brakes, but I don't think Liverpool are in a position to do that. Secondly, jumping onto the point of where you're saying where they are in terms of the Premier League greats, if you look at sides from like a snapshot of a season, you've got to say the Liverpool team are going to be up there in terms of quality, in terms of the level of consistency that they put out. But I've always said that they can't be compared to the Man United teams of old, the Chelsea teams of old. Like you can't make those comparisons now because we're in the moment, and they hadn't they hadn't gone into the new season to even look at retaining the title, and it looks like they're not going to do that. So they can't be. You can never have that conversation, I don't think, and put them in those greats. But if you look at a snapshot of a season, I feel like you're going to put them there. It's just how you define it, really, isn't it? Because
it's a difficult one.
It's a
difficult one because like City and Liverpool have raised the level over the last 3 seasons. They've been the teams that kind of brought English football back to like prominence. With the level of coaching from Guardiola and Klopp. But if at the end of the season Liverpool don't win a major trophy and Man City go and win another Premier League title, it's like, yeah, fair enough, Liverpool won the trophy when Man City were off the boil, but 3 out the last 4 Premier Leagues indicates dominance, and people might look at Liverpool's win as maybe a blot on the record. So I don't know.
It's like dynasties, isn't it? It's like forming. It's the difference between being like a team in the league and being a dynasty in the league. Like you've got, like I say, look at the NBA, for example. You got the LA Lakers team where they won 3 in a row. You got San Antonio Spurs that would win all the time. You've got the Golden State Warriors that would win constantly. You know, like you think of Premier League dynasty teams, you think of Man United, you think of maybe the Chelsea team that did it. You know, like you think of teams that can win titles every year. And City have started doing that in recent years, although they've got no fans. You know, like you just don't. Do you know what I mean? I don't look at that Liverpool side and put them in the same bracket. But if I was going to pick a side to play in a one-off game, you know, you couldn't overlook that Liverpool side just on the pure quality they've got. You know, you could argue they've got the best centre-back out of any of those sides. That might be a bold statement. Yeah. But, you know, look how rated Van Dijk is, you know. So it's a good question. I think it's a question that we should leave for the comments. And, like, you know, I'd say, people in the comments, what do you think? Are Liverpool up there in the Parthenon of the greats? Can they hold their own? Will they ever be in the same conversation as the Invincibles, as the the Man United sides? What do you think? Let us know.
Yeah. No, it will be interesting. It will be interesting. And I think the history might reflect, not negatively, but we'll have to revisit our opinions on this Liverpool team further down the line.
For sure. Anyway, yeah, guys. Quick video for you. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Twitter. You know the drill. Cheers.
Nice one, guys.